Hi, Intro to Algebra. We're going to be talking more about exponents today, and this is 16.3 in your textbook. Make sure that you've got your notebook out to take notes as we do this today. Looking back at what we already know from Tuesday, we had 3 different rules or patterns. So let's just practice that real quick. Pause the video and simplify number 1 and 2, and then start it again and check your answers. Okay, for the first one, I wrote out b to the 10th 3 times because it's being cubed, so you should get b to the 30th. For the second one, make sure that you realize that this 4 all by itself is a 4 to the 1st. So we've got 4 to the 1st times 4 to the 5th, 4 to the 6th, and then x squared times x to the 7th, x to the 9th. All right, let's jump into the new stuff for today. Here we're looking at quotients. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to write out what this actually means. So x to the 5th, we're going to write 5x's. And x squared, we're going to write 2x's. And then I want you to think about, like, well, what's x divided by x? We know that makes 1. So I'm going to write what is essentially a big 1. X divided by x is 1. X divided by x is 1. Now what am I left with here? Well, now I've just got 3 x's, so I've got x to the 3rd. Again, look for a pattern. What do you think's happening? All right, let's do number 2. That's a lot of y's to write out, but you can also kind of imagine this and think in your mind, how many y's are going to be canceling out? And how many will you have left? Now, one thing that we should really make sure and mention here is that we still can't have zeros in the denominators. So x is not equal to 0, and here y is not equal to 0. And that's something that your textbook will mention too. So assuming that we don't have any zeros in the denominator. What kind of patterns did you notice? Like y x to the 3rd if we imagine x to the 5th divided by x squared. Y to the 7th when we have y to the 11th divided by y to the 4th. So you might realize that we are really subtracting the number of x's that get canceled out. So this is x to the 5 minus 2. And the same thing really works here. This is y to the 11 minus 4. So that's our new rule, or our new pattern that we're going to add here. If we've got a to the m over a to the n, we can do a to the m minus n. And again, we're going to have to add a little thing to this rule that says a is not equal to 0, because we can't have a 0 in the denominator. Okay, our new rule's in our list over here, and I will just add to say a is not equal to 0. I'm going to imagine 10 negative 2's written out, and 5 negative 2's written out in the denominator. So how many am I going to have left in the numerator? Hopefully you realize there are 5. Be really careful. It could be tempting to write negative 2 squared. And that's not going to be right because we cancel out 5 and we have 5 negative 2's left. Here we're going to have to use both rules, one from yesterday and one from today. I'm going to write this as y to the 11th over y to the 4th. That's a problem we already did. Now this one you can simplify, you can kind of do 2 different ways. So the first method might be to simplify the first fraction and the second fraction separately and then multiply. So that would be times b, and then you'd get b squared, because this fraction could simplify to b to the 1st. And this one would also simplify to be b to the 1st. Okay, let's do another method though. Let's suppose you multiplied across first. Then I'd have b to the 8th divided by b to the 6th, and that would give me b squared. So either way, we're going to get b squared. 2 different ways of seeing it. For this one, I think it's easier to multiply the denominator first. Give 4 and 5 a try, pause, and then check your answers. Okay, for number 4, we've got a to the 9th divided by a to the 8th. And so that simplifies to a to the 1st, which we will just write as a. For number 5, we've got x to the 4th, because one of the x's canceled out. And we've got y squared, because 4 of the y's canceled out. We can't simplify that any further because these are not like bases. Okay, your practice is in the textbook today. And again, it's just these problems that I have on the screen. There's one optional challenge. And then you're going to have some problems that are very similar to these on School G. Make sure that you're writing things down, that you're making sense of things. The more you practice, the better for these kind of exponent properties and such.